My high school class all the way back to it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. This is Irish Bill bringing you this Wednesday night show from downtown Navarre in Culvers. We finished up week number 10 this past week, and it was a good one for the Raiders as they prevailed over Gulf Breeze last Friday night, 40-12. Really wasn't as close as that ending score, but we'll recap that in just a moment. We'll do that as well as go over offensive and defensive stats from the game, as well as our seasonal stats so far for the Navarre Raiders. Then we'll move on to our AP poll, our rankings this week in the state of Florida, find out where some of our area teams are placed, and find out where our Raiders are sitting. And then we'll move on to our Super 7 power rankings. I did something a little bit different this week. When I selected my star of the week, I actually have changed it to stars of the week. We're going to select an offensive and a player and a defensive player from now on and in the future. And on the defensive side, that also includes special teams. So look forward in the future as you can go out to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports on my Facebook group page, and there reflects our two players that selected for this week. One from Crestview, one from Navarre, and we'll get back to that in just a moment. And then we'll go over this week's schedule. We had some more cancellations last week as a result of Hurricane Michael. That area over in the Panama City area continues to be in disarray, and it's going to take a long time for them to get back to any semblance of normalcy over there. So our heartfelt prayers and thoughts go out to that community over there, Mexico Beach, Panama City, and the surrounding areas around there, on all the way up to Tallahassee. And God bless, and I hope that the people that are over there helping, we thank you for everybody that has stepped up and donated their time or money or supplies to that area over there and helping them get back on their feet. It's a lengthy road ahead, but in due time, things will get back in order over there. And so there are going to be some games canceled at this time. Football kind of takes a backstage to some of the events that has happened over in that area. Some of the teams are playing. Some of the teams have ended their seasons already. But we're going to continue covering those teams that are still playing, and should have the brackets come out this Sunday morning. The FHSAA should be announcing the brackets set up for the playoffs starting next Friday night, and throughout the state of Florida from 1A on up to 8A. We should have our brackets set up after Sunday morning. And then we'll get over to our high school and top 25 college predictions. I'm going to pick my games right here on the air. I have yet to get Joe's and Mike's for this week, so we're going to go over my picks for this upcoming week and go over our picks from last week. High school, I did pretty good. I only missed one, but college, I kind of stunk it up, as both Joe and Mike beat me this past week. And then we'll go over our where are they now, former Navarre Raiders, and then we'll finish up with our Gulf South Conference, our play from last week, our schedule for this upcoming week. And yes, the streak does continue for shorter as they lost their 37th straight game, and but UWF got back on their winning ways. We'll get to those scores and the standings here later on in this show. You're watching Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. We're going to take a quick commercial break just so you can hear some words from our sponsors, and we'll be back. Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. This is week 10 as we get ready to head into the final week of the regular season of high school football here in the Panhandle of Florida. We'll be be right back after this break and a word from our sponsors.
Hey,
Howdy.
what you got set up?
I do a weekly sports talk show every Wednesday night during
Really?
football season. Talk about high school football.
Okay. I have to sit down. Oh, yeah. You know, I was so sorry that I missed the cruise at the church. I know it because the other one was so much fun. We played the bingo and all that.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports here, week 10 after the week 10 of the high school football season. It's time to do a recap of last Friday night's Raiders win over Gulf Breeze, their 10th and 11th games in the Publix Beach Bowl Cup, and the trophy remains down 98 in Navarre for one more year. And now let's get back to a recap of last Friday night's game. And Navarre was up 19-0 at the end of one. We'll get over the scoring plays and drives here in just a second. They went to the halftime 26-0, stretched out to 40-0 at the end of three, which occurred a running clock for the fourth quarter. Gulf Breeze was able to score 12 points in the fourth quarter, the last one coming on the very last play of the game for your final score of 40-12. With the win, Navarre moves to 8-1 on the season. They're 3-0 in District 2-6A, and they are your district champions. Gulf Breeze finishes the district play at 2-1. They are the district runner-up, and they drop on the season to 7-2. Your Ian Lockwood player of the game from last Friday night goes to Marlon Courtney III from Navarre. Your offensive player of the game, Chris Williams from Navarre. Your defensive player of the game, in fact, some people I say I cop out when I select the whole defense, but that's what I did last Friday night. A great performance by the Raiders defense, and I selected the whole defense as our defensive player of the game. And our special teams player of the game goes to Evan Gorley, who recovered a blocked punt in the end zone for the Raiders' second score. So he is our special teams player of the game. Your scoring plays from this past Friday night. In the first quarter at the 10:59 mark, the Raiders were backed up 3rd and 15. That didn't affect them one bit, as Courtney found Dante Wright about 15 yards down the middle. Dante, with his speed that he has, he stretched it into a 70-yard touchdown. Kevin Tage's kick was good, and the Raiders had a 7-0 lead. They kicked off, and Gulf Breeze took over on their first possession. Raiders backed them up on defense, and they were punting from their own end zone, and Josh Carter busted up the middle and blocked the Cooper Harris punt. And right there, Johnny on the spot was Evan Gorley for the recovery. There was a bad snap on the kick, and Garen Bailey tried to make something out of nothing, but he was taken down, and the Raiders had themselves a 13-0 lead at the 9:01 mark. At the 1:19 mark, the Raiders got back on the board, a 12-yard run from Quinn Caballero. The 2-point conversion was no good, and so the Raiders were up 19-0 at the end of one. In the second quarter, there was only one score. At the 1:04 mark, a 29-yard pass from Garen Finley to Tyler England as they lined up in formation. And Courtney was in the shotgun. Finley was off to his left. He stepped back, and Courtney threw a pass to Finley in the backfield. And wide open at the goal line was Tyler England for the touchdown. And Tage would add the extra point, and the Raiders went to the half up 26-0. In the third quarter, the Raiders scored two more touchdowns. 8:22 mark, a 13-yard run by Chris Williams. Tage's kick was good. At the 1:10 mark, a 3-yard run by Josh Carter. Tage's kick was also good. So they headed to the fourth quarter up 40-0. So the running clock incurred as they started the fourth quarter, and the Raiders would not put up any more points, but Gulf Breeze would put up two touchdowns. At the 2:28 mark, a 34-yard run by Tyler Dittmer. The kick was blocked, and as the clock read zeros, a 28-yard pass from Cooper Harris to Dick DeWeese. There was no try on the extra point, and that took our final tally to 40-12. Official stats on the night: Marlon Courtney 3 of 6 for 115 yards and a score. Garen Finley 1 of 1 for 29 yards and a score. For Gulf Breeze, Cooper Harris 7 of 15 for 101 yards and a TD. He also had an interception. Navarre rushing, Chris Williams with 79 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. Marlon Courtney with 46 yards on 9 carries. Jaden Antonio with 26 yards on 3 carries. Tyler England 2 carries for 23 yards. Quinn Caballero 2 carries, 13 yards and a TD. Josh Carter pitched in 9 yards on 4 carries and also added a touchdown. And Garen Finley 2 carries for -5 yards. Gulf Breeze rushing, 33 carries for 149 yards and a score. 20 carries and 104 yards and a touchdown for Tyler Dittmer. Cooper Harris with 12 carries for 44 yards, and Christian Murphy with 1 carry for 1 yard. The Raiders held Dittmer to 1 yard in the first half on 10 carries. And you ask, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, it's a big deal because Tyler Dittmer, going into that game, was the #1 running back in the state of Florida, going into that game with 1,949 yards. He got his share late in the fourth quarter and put him over 100, but the Raiders' front seven did a great job limiting the yards and carries of one Tyler Dittmer. In the air, the Raiders only had 4 receptions, but they made the most of them, 2 of them going for touchdowns. Dante Wright with 1 for 70 yards. Quinn Caballero with 1 reception for 31. Tyler England with 1 reception for 29 and a score. And Chris Williams 1 for 14. Gulf Breeze had 7 receptions. Nick DeWeese with 2 for 78 yards and a touchdown. Toller Keegley, 2 receptions for 16 yards. Tyler Dittmer, 2 receptions for 4, and Jaden Skipper 1 for 3 yards. Navarre's kicker, Kevin Tage, 4 of 4 on extra points. He had 7 kickoffs, and he had 2 touchbacks on the night. Jacoby Smith, 4 punts. He averaged 33, and he had 2 inside the 20, with 39 being his best. The Navarre defense, Josh Carter pitched in 14 tackles. He had a blocked punt as well. Isaiah Hayward with 6 tackles, a sack, tackle for loss, and a quarterback hurry. Jordan Jefferson with 6 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and a quarterback hurry. Quinn Caballero with 6 tackles as well, and a tackle for loss. Xavier Thomas, 5 tackles, a tackle for loss. Grady Kelly with 4 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 3 quarterback hurries. A great night for the sophomore Grady Kelly. Mitchell Hunt with 3 tackles. Jeffrey Maddox with 3 as well. Evan Gordley with 3 tackles, a fumble recovery, and a blocked punt. Recovered in the end zone for a score. Chris Williams with 2 tackles. Same with Zach Marquise, Matthew Downey, Cameron Thomas with 1. Dante Wright with 1. Nathan Cruz and Kobe Johnson with 1 each. Jacoby Smith with 1, Roger Adams with a block kick and a quarterback hurry, Alex Gilchrist with 3 quarterback hurries, and Brandon Langren with a quarterback hurry. That's the offense and defense from this last Friday night's game, and the Raiders 40-12 win. They'll be on the road this Friday night as they will finish up the 2018 regular season on the road at Niceville. And you'll be able to catch all the live action. I do that as I've been battling bandwidth issues for most of the season. Hopefully on the road I have not had such that problem. So hopefully Friday's broadcast will go on without a hitch. So let's move on over to our seasonal stats for the Raiders. On the season, Marlon Courtney's 103 of 166 on the season for 1,718 yards, 62% passing, 14 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. And I'm looking at my Navarre records here as we'll look at the offensive side first. Marlon Courtney is now has had the 6th best passing season for Navarre, as he's right behind Sage Chambers. He's about 71 yards behind Chambers, and about actually, let's look here, he's about 75 behind Matthew Webb. So those are the next 2 individuals in the chart there, and passing TDs in the season. Marlon with 14, right behind Zach Cook, Dusty Jones with 17, as well as Austin Grimm with 17, Matthew Webb with 19. Sage Chambers is your leader, as he had 20 this past season. So Marlon with Friday night's game, and then how many playoff games the Raiders go deep in the playoffs. We'll see if he can approach that mark set by Sage Chambers last year. But there's your quarterback leader for Navarre in school history, which started back in 1998. Their first full season was 1999, where they had all 4 classes eligible to play. 98 season was a 4-5 record for the Raiders, but they only had as high as a junior class, as they built Navarre High School in stages. So finally, by the 99 season, they had a full allotment of players and classes, and their first graduating class in 2000. And so let's get back to our seasonal leaders on the offense. Garrett Finley with 2 of 4 on the season. Both of his completed passes have gone for touchdowns for 60 yards. Dante Wright 1 of 2 for 55 yards. Your rushing attack is led by Chris Williams, 121 carries, 721 yards, 6.0 average, 10 touchdowns on the season for Chris. Josh Carter, 53 carries, 275 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Marlon Courtney with 279 yards on 65 carries, a 4.3 average, and he's found the end zone a couple of times. Jaden Antonio with 15 yards on 41 carries. And Jaden will lead the Raider offense back next year, as he's only a junior. He has 4 touchdowns on the season. Dante Wright with 180 yards on 22 scores. He's averaging 8.2 per carry and 7 touchdowns. Garrett Finley, 72 yards on 12 carries. Evan Gorley, 33 yards on 6 carries. Tyler England, 23 yards on 2 carries. Quinn Caballero, 21 yards on 3 carries. 4 yards for Danny Leposki, and a 1 yard for Jabari Mitchell. And he has added a touchdown, 33 rushing touchdowns here on the season for Navarre, and only 1 fumble on the season thus far. The receiving corps led by Dante Wright, 30 receptions, 554 yards. He has 6 touchdowns. Tyler England with 31 for 465 and 4 touchdowns. Quinn Caballero at 27 for 417 and 5 touchdowns. Chris Williams was 161 yards on 7 receptions. Jaden Antonio with 79 yards on 2 receptions and a score. And Garrett Finley with 3 for 64. Fernando Gomez 2 for 54. Josh Carter 1 for 17. Noah Melendez 2 for 16. Danny Leposki 1 for 6. Raiders 106 receptions for 1,833 yards. They're averaging 17.3 a catch, and they've hauled in 16 touchdown passes. Looking back at my stats, and with Dante Wright with those 7 touchdowns, actually not 7, with those 6 touchdowns on the season, Dante moves his already receiving TD record to 27, 7 more than former Navarre Raider Brad Leggett, who did that from 09 to 11. Dante with 2,200 yards on this season, actually on his career, and that is a new Navarre record as well. And Dante is your receiving TDs in a season leader with 15. He had that last year, as he was Sage Chambers' favorite target last year. And 906 yards Dante had last year. He's number 3 all-time in Navarre history, behind Chris Weaver and Jordan Leggett. Jacoby Smith has been handling the majority of the punting duties since early in the season, where he shared them with Tyler England. Jacoby with 18 punts for 674 yards. He's averaging 37.4 per punt, and then 4 of them inside the 20. Kicking for Navarre, Dante Wright 20 of 23 extra points, 2 of 5 field goals. Kevin Tace 19 of 20 on extra points, 1 of 4 on field goals. And Finn Hookshot, he has had 1 kickoff, and Preston Penton 3 of 4 on extra points, 2 kickoffs for him as well. The Raiders are 89.4% on extra points, 33% on field goals, 59 kickoffs for 2,565 yards, a 43.5 average. Your scoring leaders for Navarre with 104, Dante Wright, 7 rushing touchdowns, 6 receiving. He's also pitched in 20 extra points and 2 field goals. Chris Williams is at number 2 with 11 touchdowns for 66 points. Josh Carter with 8 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion for 50. Quinn Caballero with 6 touchdowns for 36. Jaden Antonio with 5 for 30. Tyler England with 24 points on 4 receiving touchdowns. Kevin Tate with 19 extra points, 1 field goal for 22. Jabari Mitchell with 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, actually 1 rushing and 1 kickoff. Kevin Gorley with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 fumble recovery. Marlon Courtney with 2 for 12. Preston Penn with 3 extra points for 3 points, and Matthew Downey with a safety for 2 off a block punt. The Raiders have outscored their opponents in the first quarter 79-63, 105-40 in the second quarter, and 93-13 in the third. The Raiders have only give up 13 points, 2 touchdowns in the third quarter all season long. In the fourth quarter, the Raiders have outscored their opponents 90-61 and 6-0 in overtime, amassing 373 points on the offensive side of the ball and 177 given up. So they're averaging 41.4 through the first 9 games of the season and giving up 19.7. On third down conversions, the Raiders are 38 of 95 for 40%, and at fourth down conversions, they are 13 of 20 for 65%. They have 10 turnovers on the season and a +5. They have 15 takeaways for the Raiders on the season. They're averaging 202.7 yards on the ground, 203.7 through the air, 406 yards on the ground and through the air for Navarre this season. A very, very balanced attack here in 2018. And let's go over to our defensive stats on the season for Navarre. Then we'll head off to our second commercial break here on Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Josh Carter leading the way with 74 tackles, 2 interceptions. He is also your leader in caused fumbles with 3. Isaiah Hayward with 44 tackles on the season. He is your sack leader with Peyton Law and Alex Gilchrist with 2 each. Jordan Jefferson with 25 tackles on the season and 20 tackles for loss. He is your tackles for loss leader with 20. That is actually the second best season for Navarre. Josh Carter had 31 his sophomore year, and Jordan in his career now has 31, so he would need 9 more to catch Josh Carter as the leader, and he needs 1 more to tie Anthony Miller, also known as the Unit, with 32, as he played in the 14 and 15 seasons. Great career there for Anthony Miller. And Jordan Jefferson is also your big hits leader with 19 and your extra bone leader with 18. Your fumble recovery leader on the season, what an outstanding season he's had so far. Evan Gorley with 3 fumble recoveries and 3 block kicks. And your quarterback hurry leader is sophomore Grady Kelly with 12. On the season, the Raiders have 6 interceptions, 7 caused fumbles, 11 fumble recoveries. Their sacks have 12, tackles for loss with 80, the block kicks with 11. That has to be close to a school record going into this season. It seems like they've been blocking kicks and punts and extra points all season long. 48 quarterback hurries and 157 big hits. The Raiders have given up 1,097 yards on the ground, 273 carries, passing 55 of 131 for 963. Third down conversions, this is the most impressive. Raiders only give up 1 of 11 this past Friday night, and for the season, only 15 of 91 third down conversions. That is quite impressive. And fourth down conversions, 6 of 13, and the Raiders have given up just a little over 2,000 yards on the season, which just equates to about 230 yards on the ground for the season. And that takes care of the defensive stats, as well as a recap of our offensive stats. And the Raiders' 40-12 victory in the Publix Beach Bowl Cup 11 Annual Beach Bowl Cup. And we'll be back after this commercial break as you're watching Irish Bill's Twist on Sports.
Oh, really? And so, after the holidays, we were off in Colorado, and came back.
So that's my famous story about the sauce. So, but I just
Your claim to
yes, my
fame.
claim to fame. There's no love for the sauce.
Yes, still. I remember where I bought the thing. The handle was heavy and it didn't want to just fall down or something. So we had a place called Weimar, or a unit of employees on it, I think. But it's got everything. So like, they have a lot of food and they have rifles and bullets, and they have camping stuff, and they have ladders and tools to work in the yard, and just everything. They got little appliances, they got printers, laptops, cameras. I mean, it's, yeah, we had to find out, with the family. And I ended up with one, and that may be I got first. And I liked it so well. I did because I tell you what, and this is great. But I can fix heat stuff up.
Well, I could sit here and listen to that song all night long, and as we are coming down to the last game of the regular season, something that I like to do. You have individuals that are seniors and some of them have given all 4 years of their high school career to Navarre High School, and then you have some that have come in along the way. So what I like to do at the end of the regular season is recognize our seniors and what they've done for their program, and let you guys know that how hard these guys have worked to get to where they are, and the success many equates into what the Raiders have done over the last 7 years under Coach Walls. And your seniors this year for Navarre, number 3, Chris Williams, number 4, Josh Carter, number 5, Dante Wright, number 7, Garen Finley, number 8, Nathan Cruz, number 12, Evan Gorley, number 14, Quinn Caballero, number 15, Zach Simpson, number 16, Kevin Tage, number 17, Anthony Brockham, number 26, Cameron Thomas, number 28, Matthew Downey, number 41, Peyton Law, number 48, Isaiah Hayward, number 50, Connor Brazell, number 64, Bryson Garner, number 66, Trey Campbell, number 75, Coda Taylor, number 79, Clayton Dillard, number 82, Cody Thompson, number 83, Shane Graki, number 84, Noel Melendez, number 85, Zach Taylor, number 87, Eric Anderson, number 95, Alex Gilchrist, number 96, Jacoby Smith, number 97, Mitchell Hunt, and number 99, Jordan Jefferson. Got one thing to say to you. Thumbs up. Job well done, but this season is not done, as we will be hitting the road one more time this Friday night as the Raiders hit Niceville for their final regular season. Then it's playoff time next Friday night, as the Raiders will host in the first round of the playoffs against a foe to be determined here this Sunday. And right now, if we were to start the playoffs today, that foe would be Pace. And so that goes in recognizing our 27 seniors for Navarre. And now it's time to go over our AP rankings for the state of Florida that just came out earlier this afternoon. And we'll start with Class 8A. It will go from 1 to 10. Vero Beach, Deerfield Beach, Atlantic Community out of Delray Beach, Christopher Columbus Catholic out of Miami, Wakaiva out of Apopka, Palm Beach Central, Osceola out of Kissimmee, Miami Southbridge, South Dade out of Homestead, and Plantation are your top 10 in Class 8A. In Class 7A, St. Thomas Aquinas. Number 2 is Columbia out of Lake City, Lakeland, Dwyer, Venice, Plant, Robert E. Lee out of Jacksonville, Plant City, and MacArthur out of Hollywood, and Pinellas Park out of Largo. In Class 6A, Miami Carroll City is the top spot. They've been there all year long. Miami Central in the number 2 spot, followed by Vanguard. Armwood, Naples, Charlotte. Navarre comes in at number 7, same place they were last week in the poll. They're followed by Miami Northwestern. The only team to give the Raiders a loss on the season come in at number 9 is Scambia. They're 7-2, and then Dillard comes in at the 9th spot. And other area teams with a point: Pensacola, Pine Forest. Class 5A, Trinity Christian, Godby, Cardinal Gibbons, American Heritage, Rockledge, Jones out of Orlando, Hardy out of Wauchula, Jesuit out of Tampa, Wakulla out of Crawfordville, and Zephyr Hills round out the top 10 in Class 5A. Let's move over to 4A, where we only have 5 teams that they recognize. University out of Fort Lauderdale, Rains out of Jacksonville, Cocoa, Booker T. Washington out of Miami, and Glades Central out of Belle Glade. At Class 3A, Chaminade Madonna, College Prep, Clearwater Central Catholic, Kings Academy, American Heritage out of Delray Beach, Florida High out of Tallahassee is the number 5 spot, and Other area teams, no other area teams. In Class 2A, Victory Christian, Seffner Christian, Miami Christian, Zephyr Hills Christian, and University Christian out of Jacksonville. And McClay also recognized out of Tallahassee, as well as North Florida Christian. In your Class 1A, Madison County, Hawthorne, Baker School, Bluntstown, and Pahokee. And your other area teams recognized is Port St. Joe. And that takes care of the rankings from this past week. Now let's move on to Irish Bill's Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings. Yes, I do post this late on Tuesday night. So if you follow me on Irish Bill's Twist on Sports on my Facebook group page, you already know what I'm about to announce. So our top 7, Navarre comes in. They're 8-1, 3-0 overall as they beat Gulf Breeze this past week. Crestview jumps up to the number 2 spot as they took care of Niceville. Escambia at number 3. Niceville falls to number 4, followed by Pine Forest, Gulf Breeze, and Pace. Your honorable mentions: Mosley, West Florida, Catholic. And West Florida actually played 2 games this past week on Friday and last night. Catholic, Pensacola, Baker, and Port St. Joe. Like I said, we changed it up this week, and from now on we're going to recognize the offensive and defensive / special teams player of the week from now on. And our stars of the week come from Crestview and Navarre this week. On the offensive side of the ball, Crestview running back Jay Stanton, on an outstanding season this senior running back has had. And last Friday night against Niceville, 18 carries, 201 yards, and 4 touchdowns in that 63-33 beatdown of Niceville. On the defensive side of the ball, Navarre's Josh Carter, linebacker. He had 14 tackles, a block punt in that 40-12 win over Gulf Breeze. Congratulations goes out to both Jay and Josh. They are offensive and defensive stars of the week. Other noteworthy performances this week. Let's start with the quarterbacks. We have a few. South Walton's Drake Roberts, 31 of 44, 351 yards and 4 touchdowns. Crestview's John Gillis, 11 of 18, 273 and 3 touchdowns. West Florida's Trevor Jordan, 14 of 22, 235 and a score. Taylor County's Decorion Bellamy, 8 of 9 for 187 yards and 4 scores. Pine Forest's Ladarius Clardy, 16 of 25 for 184, 2 touchdowns, and he also pitched in a touchdown on the ground. Tate's quarterback, Hunter Riggin, it was 14 of 22 for 173 and a score, and he also pitched in 36 carries for a combined 345 total yards and 3 touchdowns. Choctaw's Brady Peters finished the night 13 of 20 for 137. He also had 2 touchdowns on 8 carries for Choctaw. Niceville's Jack White, 113 yards passing, 140 yards rushing, and 4 touchdowns. Port St. Joe's Josh Butts, 3 of 6 for 74 yards, and he also pitched in 113 yards rushing. And Bluntstown's Trent Peacock went 5 of 7 for 111 yards, 2 scores. And he also had 3 carries for 98 yards and a touchdown. And he also played the defensive side of the ball and pitched in an interception return for a touchdown. That takes care of the quarterbacks. Let's move on to the running backs. Vernon's Kwan Powell led the area in rushing this past week with 237 yards on 27 carries and 3 touchdowns, but unfortunately they lost 20-19 to FAMU. Pace's Damian Bivens went over 2,000 yards once again and broke his own school record this year as far as career yardage, and that's a big feat to do. Some of the running backs that they've had to go through Pace over the last few years with Johnson and the Bivens and Quade Weimer-Skirts, the last 3 running backs. So what a great job they do toting the ball there at Pace. 30 carries, 236 and 3 touchdowns for Bivens. Choctaw's Mario Banks, 16 carries and 184 yards and 3 TDs. Scambia's Frank Pazant, 18 carries, 172 and 2 scores. James Edding, 28 carries, 158 yards and 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. Bozeman's Hunter Kruger, 14 carries for 146 yards and 2 scores. Chipley's Andrew Lawton, 12 carries, 129 yards and 2 scores. Niceville's TJ Pope, 108 yards rushing. Taylor County's John McGrew, 9 carries, 101 yards and a score. Choctaw's Reggie Fain, 16 carries, 100 yards and a TD. I need to take a quick water break. That was a 6-minute mark of the first quarter, so that was an authorized water break, correct? Wide receivers, West Florida's Keon Burrell, nice night for him, 9 receptions, 138 yards and a TD. South Walton's Jaden Page, 8 receptions, 118 yards and 3 touchdowns. Crestview's Jaden Boyson, 6 receptions, 109 yards, 2 TDs, and he also had 1 kickoff return for a touchdown. As a wide receiver mate, Marcus Malloy, 2 receptions for 108 yards and a TD. And Taylor County's Robert Glenn, 2 receptions for 92 yards and a score. Your defensive leaders, Pine Forest Mitrez Rawls with 17 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and a sack. He was right there with Josh Carter for my defensive player of the week. Sneeds is Seth Scott, 17 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and a caused fumble. He wasn't too far behind either. His teammate Jaheim Garrett with 15 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. West Florida's Antarius Moultrie, 14 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and a sack. Pine Forest's Datavius Grandison, 13 tackles. Choctaw's Mason Bruns, 12 tackles, a tackle for loss, an interception. He also had 1 punt for 40 yards. Pine Forest's Wyatt Gill with 12 tackles and a sack. Yeah, there is a page 2 this week. Sneeds is J. Nathan Hayes with 11 tackles, a tackle for loss, and a sack. Pine Forest Tahir McCall, 11 tackles, a tackle for loss, and a sack. Chipley's Zach Wilson with 11 tackles. Sneeds D'Angelo Manbeck, 10 tackles, a tackle for loss. Crestview's Dakota Matthews, what a solid season Dakota's had. He pitched in 10 tackles last Friday night, along with his teammate DeMarcus Purcell. He had 10 tackles as well and a tackle for loss. Pine Forest's Cameron Kistler with 10 tackles and a sack. West Florida's Derek Town with 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. And Pine Forest's Ethan Peden, 10 tackles and a tackle for loss. Your kickers and punters, Crestview's Trevor Dahlgren with 9 for 9 on extra points and 1 punt for 40 yards. I'm surprised they punted with putting up 63 points last week. Taylor County's Irvin Azarde, 5 of 5 on extra points. Navarre's Kevin Tate, 4 of 4 on extra points, 2 touchbacks. Pace's Andrew White, 4 punts. What a great night for Andrew. Punting the ball, 48.3 average for him. And he had 1 inside the 20. The Pine Forest's Dakota Weaver with 3 for 3 on extra points. And we got one more thing to do. Yeah, we got this week's schedule coming up. And then we'll come back for my predictions, and we'll have to make them as we go here. And let's get on to the schedule for this week. Actually, before we move on to that, we've got to give you the scores, all the scores from this past week. Because we've already went over the Navarre score. Pace 21, Milton 14. Choctaw 54, Fort Wall Beach 20. Escambia 35, Washington 12. Pine Forest 35, Tate 20. West Florida 21, Pensacola 0. Mariana 28, Holmes County 8. Sneeds 39, North Bay Haven 8. South Walton 39, Bozeman 21. Blountstown 45, Walton 7. Godby 28, Florida High 19. FAMU 20, Vernon 19. Chipley 52, Liberty County 16. Jade 30, Freeport 26. Weewaw over Franklin in a tight one, 8-6. Port St. Joe 34-14, a game that was played last Saturday. Actually, it was played last Friday night early. Northview 56, Nooks Christian 0. Taylor County 41, Lighthouse PCA 0. And our Tuesday night games last night, Franklin County 40-0 over Lighthouse, and West Florida over Arnold 47-14. Games we lost last week, mostly at Bay, Gaston County at Rutherford, and Graceville at Cottondale. Your games coming up this week, Navarre at Niceville, Gadsden County at Gulf Breeze. A game that has been canceled, Thompson, Alabama was supposed to come down and from the Birmingham area to play Crestview, but because of pending weather that we have coming in tomorrow, that game has been canceled. Catholic at Pace, Escambia at Pensacola, Pine Forest at Milton, Washington at West Florida, Jefferson County at Wakulla, Mosley at Leon, Mariana at Rutherford, Bozeman at North Bay Haven, that game pending. Arnold at Florida High, Taylor County at Sewanee, Monroe Day at Franklin County, FAMU at Weewa, Fort St. Joe at North Florida Christian, Lighthouse PCA at Jay, Blountstown at Vernon. That should be a good matchup there. Holmes County at Chipley, Northview at Freeport, Sneads at Liberty County, and Baker at Graceville. Well, there's your schedule for this Friday, and then we'll come back and I'll have my picks for this week. And we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll let you listen to a little bit more of the Boys of Fall. Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Sorry we took a little bit more time there. One thing before we move on, I want to wish a happy birthday to my son Brady. Brady's going to school at Miles College. You probably already knew that, but he was able to make it home today. Had to take care of some ID card things, and he'll be heading back to school tomorrow morning. But I would just want to send out a happy birthday, not only to my son Brady, but my mother-in-law Kay. She shares a birthday with my son, and also my brother Jim is also a Halloween baby. So we have 3 generations of Halloween babies. So happy birthday to all those that, I know we have a former Raider out there too. Alex Watley is also celebrating a birthday today as well. And yeah, I know you folks were surrounded by a lot of Alabama fans, and I know it's Nick Saban's birthday as well. So happy birthday to him and all the others that share this Halloween birthday with each other. So let's move on with the show, and it's time for my picks. And Navarre on the road at Niceville. I'm going with the Raiders on the road. Gulf Breeze easy over Gadsden County. This should be a good one, Catholic and Pace, but Pace has been on a roll of late, and I'm going with Patriots at home to enter the playoffs at 7-3. Escambia at Pensacola. I'm taking the Gators on the road. Pine Forest at Milton. Eagles all over in that one. Washington at West Florida. 0-8 Washington looking for their first win. West Florida 5-2. The Jaguars should have an easy game in that one. 4-4 Jefferson County at Wakulla, and I'm going with the War Eagles at home. Mosley at Leon. It's been a long season for Leon, and Mosley's going to keep that going. Mariana at Rutherford. This should be a good matchup. I'm going to go with Mariana on the road. Bozeman at North Bay Haven. If this game is played, I'm going with the Bozeman Bucks. Arnold at Florida High in that one. Taylor County at Sewanee. A good matchup here is this rivalry game here. And I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Sewanee at home. Monroe Day of Franklin County, a good first year, 4 wins for Coach Joseph Gaddy in his first year at the helm at Monroe Day. A tough game coming up, 3-5 Franklin County gets 4-5 Monroe Day. I'm going with Monroe Day on the road to finish the season at 5-5. FAMU 3-4 at Weewaw. I'm going with the Gators at home. Port St. Joe 7-0 at North Florida Christian. They're playing up. Should be a great contest. I'm going with Port St. Joe to stay unbeaten in this one. Lighthouse PCA 3-5 on the season at J 4-4. I'm going with the Royals at home. Bluntstown 7-1 at Vernon. I want to take Vernon. They've been hot, but Bluntstown has had a solid season at 7-1. So I'm going with Bluntstown on the road. Holmes County 2-6 at Chipley, 3-4, going with Chipley at home. Northview at Freeport, 5-4. The Chiefs against the Freeport team at 3-5. I'm going with Northview and Derek Marshman on the road. Sneed 7-1 at Liberty County, no close game there. Sneed's in that one, and Baker at Graceville. I'm going with the Gators for their 29th consecutive regular season win to finish the regular season unbeaten for the 3rd straight year. A record from last week, I went a nice 17-1. Joe and Mike pitched in with a 16-2 record last week, and on the season, a 157-40 for 79.7%. Joe's at 114-35 at 76.5, and Mike is at 148-49, 75.1%. Well, there's your high school games for this week, and this finishes up the regular season here in the Panhandle of Florida and throughout the state of Florida before the playoffs kick off next Friday night. Now let's move over to our college picks, and before we get to the picks from this week, we're going to go over our. I almost don't even want to talk about my record that I had last week, and I know in the paper on Thursday when it comes out tomorrow that Stacy Wright probably has the lead on me again. But this week between Mike and Joe, and Joe won the week with a 12-7 record, Mike 11-8, and I came up pulling up the wagon at 10-9. So on the season, I'm 150-46 with a 1% lead over Mike, a 2-game lead. And Joe at 130-44, 74%, 74.7. And here's the games for this week, and I'm gonna pick them as I go. Temple at number 9, UCF. UCF continues their winning ways. That is actually a Thursday night game. Friday night, Pittsburgh and a new number 25 team, Virginia. Pittsburgh on the road at number 23, Virginia. Now I'm going for the Cavaliers at home. A Saturday afternoon contest. In fact, the rest of these will be Saturday afternoon. Clemson in a rout over Louisville at home. Number 22, Syracuse at Wake Forest. I'm going with the Orange on the road. Number 6, Georgia at number 11, Kentucky. I would like to go with Kentucky and the Wildcats with the great season they're having so far, but Bulldogs going to get it done in that one. Nebraska at number 8, Ohio State. Ohio State continues back on the road from their winning ways. Number 25, Texas A&M at Auburn. I'm going with Auburn at home. Missouri at number 13, Florida. This should be a close game, but I'm going with the Gators in the end. Rutgers at Wisconsin. Wisconsin tries to bounce back after their big defeat last week to Northwestern. I'm going with the Badgers at home. Number 12, West Virginia at number 15 in Texas. I'm going with West Virginia on the road. Number 19, Iowa at Purdue. This should be a good ball game. I'm going with the Hawkeyes on the road. Number 24, Boston College, back in the rankings at Virginia Tech. It's always a tough place to play at Virginia Tech, and I'm going to go with Boston College on the road. Florida State at North Carolina State. Always a tough place for Florida State, even in a good season, so I'm going with North Carolina State and the Wolfpack at home. Number 14, Penn State at number 15, Michigan. Michigan's on a roll, and I think they'll stay on a roll as they will defeat Penn State. Number 16, Utah at Arizona State. I'm going with Utah, the Utes on the road. Number 3, Notre Dame at Northwestern. And Northwestern, you got Wisconsin last week, not this week against Notre Dame. Number 1, Alabama at number 4, LSU. I hope LSU can pull this one out, but I don't think so. And Alabama will continue their winning ways. Number 7, Oklahoma at the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. And number 7, Oklahoma will put up a ton on that Texas Tech defense. California at number 10, Washington State. Washington State will continue their winning ways. Louisiana Tech at number 21, Mississippi State. Should be no contest here. Number 17, Houston at MSU. One of the nation's top scoring teams in Houston. As they are led and coached. Applegate is the head coach out there. I'm going with Houston in that one. Number 20, Fresno State at UNLV. Going with Bulldogs on the road. Number 18, Utah State in the polls for the first time this year. They're at Hawaii for a long road trip, and I'm going with Utah State on the road. Our two D2 games coming up this week. We've got a great matchup, a great rivalry matchup this week. 5-4 Tuskegee at 3-6 Miles College. What a game last week I got to attend in Atlanta, as Miles, this team has experienced 5 games decided in the last 20 seconds on the season, and this one went their way on the last play of the game, a 27-yard pass, and Miles College won with the extra point, 28-7. Tuskegee on the road at Miles, and I'm going with Miles, which would put Miles in the championship game of the SIAC conference, and that would come either from, I think, Albany State, or I think Benedict's lost a couple of games, so I think Albany State is leading the eastern side, and right now it's coming down to Tuskegee and Miles for the western side, and I'm going with the home team, Miles College, which would set up a SIAC championship game at Miles the following week on the 10th. Valdosta State 8-0 at West Florida, 6-3. Valdosta averaging over 50 points a game. I would love to pick the Argonauts here, but I'm going to have to go with Valdosta State on the road. So there's your college picks for this week. And now it's time to move over to our former Navarre Raiders. Where are they now? A tight end, Jordan Leggett. He's with the Jets. They're 3-5 on the season. He had no stats in the 24-10 loss to my Chicago Bears last weekend. Coming up this week at Miami Dolphins, a 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. For the season, Jordan with 4 receptions for 23 yards and a touchdown. Middle Tennessee State wide receiver Gatlin Casey's a graduate transfer. They're 5-3 on the season, 4-1 in conference play. He had 4 receptions at 90 yards and a 70-yard touchdown in a 51-17 win over Old Dominion. This Old Dominion team is the same team, I believe, that beat Virginia Tech earlier in the season. So a best afternoon for Gallon Casey at his new home this year as a graduate transfer. Next up for them, they'll be hosting Western Kentucky this Friday night at 7 p.m. On the season for Gallon, 16 receptions, 200 yards, 12.5 yard per catch average, 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. Next, 6 individuals play for Huntington College. One actually not playing this year, Sage Chambers, a red shirt due to recovering from a torn labrum surgery. They did win this past Saturday with offensive lineman Chris Herring and Daryl Hickson getting the starts from Navarre. They're 2-5 on the season, 2-3 in conference play. Up this week at North Carolina Wesleyan at 12 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. And Mark Short got some playing time on the defensive side of the ball with 3 solo tackles in that win. And he has 11 tackles on the season, 5 solos, 6 assists, and a sack. And your Huntington College Hawks, Chris Herring, Daryl Hickson, Mark Struck, Garrett Schluter, Chandler Cooper, and Sage Chambers. On down to Kennesaw State's defensive end, Kyle Aerosmith. He's a redshirt junior. They're 7-1 on the season, 3-0 in conference play. He had no stats in a 38-10 win over Charleston Southern. This week they'll be hosting the Campbell on 2 p.m. Saturday. 4 solo tackles on the season for Kyle Aerosmith. Trinity Bible College wide receiver Alex Watley, they finished up their season a couple of weeks ago. They finished the season 4-4, 3-0 in conference play. He finished the season with 13 receptions for 192 yards, 14.8 average, 2 touchdowns. He also had 1 carry for 8 yards and 10 kickoff returns for 225 yards. Congratulations to Alex Watley, as he's a red shirt senior for Trinity Bible College, and he will move on to bigger and better things, more than likely outside of football, as he gets ready to graduate from Trinity Bible College in the spring. And this Birmingham Southern defensive back Dylan Main, what a senior season he's having. 31 tackles on the season, 21 solo, 10 assists, to go with 3 interceptions, 47 yards on those interceptions, and a sack. And this week they'll be playing Millsaps at 1 p.m. kickoff. He had 5 tackles and 3 solos, 2 assists, and a 26-10 loss to Berry College this past Saturday up in Rome, Georgia. Move on to Texas Tech defensive back Tommy Liggett. He recorded his first touchdown at Texas Tech in D1 as he blocked a punt and recovered it in the end zone. And unfortunately, the Red Raiders lost to Iowa State 40-31. Tommy is a redshirt sophomore. They're 5-3 on the season, 3-2 in Big 12 action. Next up, they will host Oklahoma this Saturday night at 7. On the season for Tommy, 7 tackles, 5 solos, and 2 assists to go with that blocked punt and the TD. Let's move over to page 2. West Florida wide receiver Quentin Randolph. They're 6-3 on the season, 4-2 in Gulf South Conference action. He's a redshirt junior. He had 3 receptions and a touchdown, 51 yards in that 26-10 win over North Greenville. Next up, they'll be hosting Valdosta State this Saturday afternoon at 4. On the season for Quentin, 18 receptions, 297 yards, a 16.5 average, and 3 touchdowns. Miles College kicker Brady Hamill, he's a junior. They're 3-6 on this season. They won 3 of their last 4 games. They're 3-2 in SIAC conference action. He did not play in a 28-27 win over Clark Atlanta this past week. On the season for Brady, 14 kickoffs and 2 extra points and 1 tackle on the season. They'll be hosting Tuskegee this Saturday in a rivalry game at 2 o'clock. Maryville College linebacker Bo Herring registered 6 tackles last week, 2 solos, 4 assists, and a 14-0 win over Everett. They improved their record to 5-2 on the season. They are unbeaten, 5-0 in conference play. Next up for them, they'll be at Greensboro this Saturday at 1 p.m. kickoff Eastern time. And for Bo on the season, 27 tackles, 16 solos, 11 assists, and 2 sacks. University of North Carolina running back Michael Carter, they lost to Virginia this past week, 31-21. They're 1-6 on the season, 1-4 in ACC action. Michael finished the day with 8 carries for 42 yards and a score. His first rushing touchdown on the season, second overall. And he also contributed 2 receptions for 14 yards. Next up for them, they'll be hosting Virginia Tech this Saturday, 12:15 kickoff. On the season, Michael, 49 carries, 334 yards, a 6.8 average, and a touchdown, 14 receptions for 85 yards, 6.1 average, and a score. An open week for Auburn University's offensive lineman Nick Brahms. He's a redshirt freshman for the War Eagles, and they're 5-3 on the season, 2-3 in SEC action. They'll be at number 16 at Texas A&M this Saturday, and I'm still looking for the time on that one. When I posted this, they didn't have the time scheduled. Next up, Sam Houston State wide receiver Tevin Stevenson, a redshirt freshman. They're 5-3 overall, 4-2 in conference play. Southland Conference. He had no stats in a 28-25 win over Southeastern Louisiana. Next week, this coming week, they'll be hosting the Incarnate Word, a 2 p.m. kickoff on the season. 2 receptions for 12 yards for Tevin Stevenson. Florida Tech defensive back Tyson Brown, a redshirt freshman. They're 6-3, 3-3 overall. Did not play in a 29-22 loss to West Alabama. Next up, they'll be hosting North Greenville this Saturday at 2 p.m. down in Melbourne, Florida. Ave Maria University offensive lineman LaMarcus Smith, he's a sophomore. They're having a nice season at 5-3, 4-0 in conference play. And he started on the O-line in a 10-7 win over Kaiser. Next up for them, they'll be at Weber International this Saturday at 1 p.m. Troy wide receiver Jordan Williams and Troy running back Amari Green, they're both walk-ons at Troy. They did not dress in a 38-17 win over South Alabama a week ago Tuesday. Next up for them, it will be against Louisiana this Saturday, 2:30 kickoff. That's your four Navarre Raiders. Where are they now? And it's time to finish up this week's with the Gulf South Conference standings, results, and schedule for this upcoming week. West Georgia moves into the top spot, tied with Valdosta, both 6-0. West Georgia 9-0 on the season. Valdosta State 8-0. West Florida at 4-2. Conference play 6-3 overall. Florida Tech, West Alabama, and North Greenville all at 3-3 in conference play. Florida Tech and West Al at 6-3. North Greenville 4-4 overall. Mississippi College 1-4 in conference play, 3-5 overall. Delta State 1-5 and 1-7, and Shorter University 0-7 and 0-9. The Week 9 results: Delta State 46, Shorter 20, West Florida 26, North Greenville 10, West Georgia 36, Mississippi College 21, West Alabama 29, and Florida Tech 22. There'll be 5 games on the schedule this weekend in Gulf South Conference action. Delta State 1-7 at West Georgia, 9-0. West Alabama 6-3 at Mississippi College, 3-5. North Greenville 4-4 at Florida Tech, 6-3. 0-9 Shorter at 5-3 North Alabama, and 8-0 Valdosta State and West Florida 6-3. That concludes your Gulf South Conference update, and an update on Coach Walls. This is his 21st season as a head coach, 170 and 86. Overall, his 17th playoff appearance, and actually will make it 18 this year. And with Navarre in 7 seasons, 67 and 16. Well, until Friday night, the Raiders will be on the road at Niceville. May the wind ever be at your back, and with the storm coming in tomorrow, everybody stay safe. Until Friday night, this is Irish Bill signing off. Good night, Navarre.